Okay, so last New Year's Eve, 021, or the day before New Year's Eve, my house burned down in a wildfire. And a part of my house, which is made up by these walls here, was built a long time ago. Not like a long time ago by Boston standards, but a long time ago by Colorado and the West and my personal standards. And these walls were erected before the Civil War, before Colorado was settled as a territory, and during the demolition and cleanup of the ash hole that was my house, I kept these walls and we worked really hard to reinforce them, like harder than we should have. We should have just bulldozed it because it would have been more cost effective. But I wanted to keep them. So we are building a new structure inside of it, which has a lot of details and only a few of which I may touch on today. And I just wanted to give you a little tour. We just started doing some framing, which has been pretty interesting. I'm building a building inside of a building, and so it makes exterior detailing and WRB installation or lack of weather resistant barrier a real challenge because I can't move the stone facade away, and yet I want to have good details on the inside of the structure. So what I've come up with, and this will undoubtedly not apply to anybody else's circumstances because the likelihood that this would help you in your rebuilding of your ancient stone house is so low that this is for pure entertainment value. So the floor was good and intact concrete, and we laid down a 16 mil stego barrier underneath of it, which is this little green stuff here, and put the floor framing directly on it. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want to have a good cavity for some insulation for a thermal break from the cold floor. Because although this is an old stone building, I don't want the floor to be cold. So you can see how some of the boards were up. We shimmed them up off of the concrete to level the entire floor within the area. And then we grouted underneath of them with high strength grout so that they have a good bearing surface on the concrete below. And then some of the places where it got really tight, we filled with a more grouted with more water in the grout so it would flow underneath of this outside rim. And I don't know if you can see, but this stego wrap comes up over top of these and then is going to turn up the inside of the wall. And we've got a better look at that right here. And the reason for that is because the floor air barrier is going to tie in to my interior wall air barrier. So that's going to turn up like this. Oops. That's going to turn up like this. And then the internal air barrier is going to go right on top of this and tape in. So this entire area is sealed from the outside, and air won't be leaking anywhere through there. And this stuff is really crazy thick. And we've been able to not penetrate it throughout this project, I don't think. It's been really tough stuff. We do have some seams, and they're taped here, and the tape continues up on the inside. Getting the origami good in places like that corner is really hard, and I did a so-so job on that. I got some corner details, and I got the insulation in ahead of time so I don't have cold corners there. And there's a pretty large variation in the squareness of the stone walls. As you can see here, I've got enough space for almost 2 bats of insulation in a lot of this wall, even maybe even 3 here at the top. And that's because this sort of gets wider the more west we go this direction. So as you see here, there's a little gap, and then if you watch that gap, it narrows all the way down to nothing until the framing is, or the exterior fiber reinforced gypsum is touching the stone at the back end there. So I don't know how to build a roof on a thing that's not a rectangle. Maybe somebody does, but I don't really feel like I'm into that right this second. So I made a rectangle inside of the stone and made sure it was really, really, really square, because that's going to help me as I go up, pitching my roof and stuff. So I built this wall yesterday, and I don't have anybody on the job site today to help me lift it, and it's kind of heavy. We have this 5/8 type X fiberglass reinforced gypsum commercial sheathing that's going on the outside of the walls, and it's all fire caulked at all of the seams. And so in the seemingly unlikely event that an ember would get through, or rather past the stone, like maybe through a crack or something, and into the wall assembly, and then through the insulation that's behind it, the rock wool insulation, and then got all the way to the wall, it would then have to penetrate the 5/8 gypsum and the fire caulk. And that's, hopefully going to give us a standing chance of being somewhat more fire resilient this time around. My other house totally deserved to burn down, and it's fine. But now that I have to redo, or not redo, but now that I have to build another dwelling, I should at least try. So that gypsum exists on the outside here as well. You can see it here, and then it's hard to see in this gap right here, but before we tilt the wall up, we detail this seam with more caulk so that when it goes together, it's also fire caulked along this seam, and then the entire thing is grouted in like this. So it should be somewhat ember resistant. The area where we're at, we are defending against high velocity pressurized ember attack. Imagine like an ember storm on 145 mile an hour wind. So when you're pressurizing a building with those kind of pressures, embers can actually be forced into the tiniest little cracks that you wouldn't imagine if you're used to a regular wildfire where embers are just falling out of the sky and landing on your roof and going out. So that's not what this is like. And so that's why the sort of detailing is a little more intense than usual. This little bump out here beyond the wall is only in a certain area where the bathroom is going to be. This building got so wide here on the east side that I really wanted to gain some of that space back, and so I framed some little bump outs, which were really hard to do, and I highly don't recommend that. And you can see some plumbing there. Whoop. Some plumbing in the corner here. Maybe you can see that. I don't know. Probably not. For the corner vanity. And then this framing bumping out here gives us an extra 2.5 inches, which is going to be really meaningful in a small bathroom like this. All of the utilities into the building come underground. This is electricity for a heat pump, and this is the refrigerant lines for a heat pump, and then this is electricity to a well, a cistern, and underground Cat 5 for the internet, a drain, power into the building and power out of the building, and then a sleeve for a water line. This 2-inch pipe and this 3-inch pipe have enormous hot bends on them, so they're very gradual, so I'll be able to get refrigerant lines and water lines through those. I temporarily decked the floor during the wall building process, and then I'll pull that and finish detailing the floor joists. And yeah, so we've been filling in. This was a door here, and this was a wall. So I changed it to, that's a door and that's a window. And this is a water line for an outside faucet. I got one of those frost-proof faucets that's 24-inch stem on it, so it can actually go all the way through the wall. But I sleeved it in case the faucet dies in the future, and also because the mortar has a cement in it, and I think that there's a thing about the copper and the acidity of the mortar. That's not my specialty. I'm not sure really. And this is a 50 amp outlet that we mortared into the stone outside. It was a really nice detail. So being able to fill this in allowed us to add these little things through the wall, which are going to be one of the only couple of wall details. This is not a passive house, but I am paying a lot of attention to air sealing details on this structure. So, and hopefully we're going to have some decent insulation. So, window, this is the bump out behind the toilet, and then the bump out where the sink is over there. And then this wall has a window in this spot right here for that. And then this door is right here. And yeah, so I'm cutting the window headers and jacks and trimmers for that, and this is the stack up for that. So this is a pre-cut stud, a 92 5/8 pre-cut stud, and I laid it out like this and cut everything to what I believe is really accurate. You could obviously do this by math, but I don't know. I don't feel that confident in it. So that's going to sit on the bottom plate, and then this jack is going to push up against the bottom of this windowsill here, and then these jacks sit on top of the windowsill. It has a 3-degree tilt to it, so the water would drain outside. But these walls are so thick that the window is going to be almost 3 feet away from the exterior and 4.5 feet away from the overhang, so hopefully they won't get too much water. And then this pushes up against the bottom of this LVL header, and the header has a little trimmer on the top to the top plate. And I used LVLs because I found them at the lumber yard, and they were little short drop, and I thought I could make good use of them. Obviously I don't need double LVLs to hold up a 30-inch span, but you know, I found them, and they flush out to the framing without having to pack them out, which is really handy. I hate having to cut plywood for like, you know, 2x lumber to pack it out to 3.5 inches. I am not a framer, by the way, and I do not aspire to be. So this is not a how-to framing video. This is just a tour of my little project here, and we have a really nice 50-something degree day here in November, and I'm gonna hopefully get this wall tilted up and this wall built, and then that wall tilted up today, and then I can start pitching the roof tomorrow. That may be a little bit ambitious, but that's my plan today. I got to get some other guys here if that plan is actually going to work, because I suppose I could frame this wall on top of this one. That seems a little intense, but I guess I could maybe do that and then tilt this one up first. Anyway, I'm not sure, but I'm going to keep working on it, and you know, maybe I'll make another video when I go a little further along. Anyway, Thanks for checking this out. I hope it was entertaining. Thanks. Bye.